So you're wanting to get that 4K badge to flex on all your friends or flex on the lobby? Well, you've come to the right place, because today I'm going to be covering my best tips to get that 4K damage badge. As always, if you do enjoy the video, please do give it a like and consider checking out my channel for more Apex content. There's plenty of it and loads more guide videos for you to check out. Anyway, without wasting too much time, let's get to the tips. Now, my first tip for you guys would be to land pretty hot. Now, you don't have to land in the hot drop, but think about your landing location. If you're landing on the edge of the map, you're probably not going to see many people, but you want to land kind of hot so you know there's people there early game and you know there's going to be people around to shoot and get some damage on. Now, as you'll see here, I dropped pretty early on because I know a lot of people tend to drop out of the ship quite early, but I didn't go straight into fight night. I know a lot of people are going to be in fight night, and I don't want my risk of loot being pretty low. I don't want to be running around trying to chase people with a Mozam or risk getting no gun at all. So I've just landed slightly near fight night in the hope of getting better loot and better shields. And of course that's worked out well. I've got a Vault, I've got a blue shield, and I've got a 301. Very, very good guns. Now, after I know I've got this loot, I'm going to start playing more aggressive and start pushing the fight. So I've headed over to Fight Night in the knowing that there's teams there. There's probably a few people who might solo, a few duos. There's been some fighting already. Some people might be pretty low. We're going to head in there and try clean up the rest of Fight Night. That's exactly what we're doing. I'm playing super aggressive, trying to get those early game kills, because that's where we're going to get a bit of damage, but most of the damage is going to come from the end game. Of course, you still need some damage to build on, which is why I'd recommend switching your playstyle throughout the game. And as you'll see in my game here, I've started playing very aggressively. Then towards the end of the game, I start playing a little more passively and just trying to farm some damage. And that leads me to my number 2 tip. Of course, you want high kills, but you also need to know when to farm some damage. So you don't need to push every single fight. It's not like going for a 20 bomb. You want to play a little conservative sometimes, a little more passively, but also know when to push. And this, what's happening right now, is a perfect example. So I was on my own, I pushed, I wanted some more fights, I wanted some more damage, and I knew I wasn't going to get it if I'm just playing Loot Simulator with my teammates. So I ran off in the hope of finding another squad, and that's exactly what I did. But being on my own, I didn't want to risk it. I knew there could be 3 of them, so I sat back a little and tried to get some extra damage and extra shots off on the team until my teammates arrived. And although it might only be 50 damage, it might only be 100 damage, that's still going to help towards the end game. And maximizing as much damage as you can get on each enemy is really, really going to help out. Which leads me to my next tip. Thirst your enemies. You need to be thirsting everyone if you can. Now, if a thirst is going to get you killed by another squad, don't go thirsting the enemy. But if you're free to do so, and there's no one around, and you know it's kind of safe, and you can thirst them, do thirst them. Because you've got to think, you get an extra 100 damage by thirsting an enemy or finishing. Even if you do the finishing move, it still gives you 100 damage extra to your damage counter. And say you do 7 or 8 knocks in a game, that's an extra 700 or 800 damage. That's really going to add and help you get closer to that 4K damage badge. Now, you might think it's a little sweaty doing that, but if you want that damage, it's got to be done. You need to be that sweaty lobby player. You need to know when to back out of your fights and know when to thirst your enemies as well. Like I say, if it's going to get you killed, don't go thirsting your enemies. Now, my next tip, of course, is switching your playstyle towards the end. As I previously mentioned, I was running the Vault and 301 and playing really aggressively, but I've now picked up a bow. Now, this was pre the bow nerf, so you will see my bow doing 70 body shot damage. It's not going to make a huge difference. Of course, it is an extra 10 damage, and you will now receive less 10 damage, but it's just a few extra shots you'll need to get. As you'll see anyway, I do get like 4.2, 4.3k damage in this game anyway, so it wouldn't have made much of a difference. I've switched to a long range weapon, so I don't want to play as aggressively. I want my enemies to heal. I want to give them chance to heal up, use their shields, so I can get more damage from them. And although I don't have that many arrows, you will see I kind of ping and be a bit annoying to my teammates because I know my teammates got arrows, and I'm like, please give me some arrows. I can do some damage. I can help out here. You know, we can help get people down, and we can do a bit more work together. but I'm keeping it super long range. I don't want to be pushing in, making silly mistakes, and throwing the damage that I've got, essentially. If I'm rushing in and it's 1v3, I might not come out on top, and it's a pretty risky situation. I don't want to be taking that risk, so I'm sitting back a bit more, playing with my team, and your teammates are really going to help here. Although they might not help, obviously they're getting damage themselves, but being with them, having that reassurance that if you go down, they're probably going to be able to pick you up or res you back, or, you know, they're going to help, and they're also going to be a meat shield for you. They're going to take some distraction while you can get as much damage as possible. And you will see some of my potato aim throughout this game. Don't get me wrong, my aim isn't perfect, and I'm still adjusting to the bow. The bow is a very weird weapon with how its drop off is, but that's another topic. Anyway, but as you see, we get one person down here, and Lobo wants to push. I'm like, okay, we'll push in. We're better sticking together. Stick with your teammates. Like I said before, I was holding back just a little bit, but luckily there was only one squad left, and we're trying to maximize how many teammates we have. And I'm so glad we got this Valkyrie res, because they really helped out towards the end game, as you'll see. So don't neglect your teammates. I mean, you can do this solo, but teammates are going to help. They're just going to provide a bit of a distraction and a bit of a meat shield. Now, as you'll see, this is what I was saying about why I've picked up the bow on the long range weapon, and why I've started to change my playstyle towards the end game. This is where you're really going to get all of your damage, or half of it in my case, pretty much. I only have 2,000 damage, and there's 4 squads left, so don't get too disheartened if there's only a couple squads left and you don't have a lot of damage. But I knew people were fighting at estates, so I went to try and farm some damage off them with the bow, of course staying long range, not getting too involved. My teammates have then pinged some enemies, and I know here, okay, my teammates are here, they're already fighting. I can pick up some easy damage here. It might only be a few hundred, but that few hundred is gonna mount up pretty easily. So again, I'm playing a bit safer, not pushing right in. I don't know where exactly these people are. I have an idea, but I'm trying to just get some damage off. And although they've downed them, I'm going in, trying to thirst them, trying to pick up that extra damage. Now, I know there's only one Mirage over here, so I'm like, okay, I can get a few hundred damage off this guy as well if I rush in there before my teammate and really get in and try swooping the kill. So there's only 3 squads left at this point. I know they're both in estates, and this is where we're going to get a lot of my damage. So I sit back and I play the long range game, and this is what you've got to do. You might think it's a bit boring, but this is what you've got to do if you want that high damage game. And it's honestly the best way. If you're not wanting to go for all the kills, you don't want to risk it, this is the best way. I am a little concerned here because there is only 2 squads left. It's us and one other, and this Loba is about to rush in, and at this point I'm like, okay, it's probably not gonna happen this game. Okay, yeah, we've tried, we've got pretty close. It's frustrating. I've had a few 3Ks this season, but it's, you know, it's one of those, and I'm so grateful and so thankful. I know how bad it is, but I'm so grateful Loba goes down, because I don't want to be pushing this team. There's only one of them left. I want to try milk them for damage and really grind out some damage off them. And you'll see here, I down one, but I don't want to push it with Valkyrie, because if we push in, we probably have the upper hand, and, you know, we might end up taking them out, and then I've just missed out on being able to get some extra damage. Luckily, Mirage got the res off. I didn't actually get any damage on Mirage, although I was trying. I knew there was 3 of them, so I wasn't too worried. But I noticed that Valkyrie is also playing quite passively, and they're trying to, I don't know whether they were going for damage as well, but it worked out really well, because although this Lob went down, this Valkyrie seemed to be on the same page, and they didn't want to push in. And it's great for me, because, you know, I'm here trying to farm some damage, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to run their shields down. I'm trying to let them heal, and at this point I'm like, okay, we're at 3.3k damage. This is very doable. This is very doable. So I'm like, Valk, let's head back. I wasn't on comms, but if you are on comms with your teammates, let them know. If they start pushing in, say, hey guys, please, can I just grind some damage a bit? I'm getting kind of close to 2k, 3k, 4k, whatever it might be. Can we just sit back a little? And most of the times they're probably like, yeah, sure. Or most of the time they could not be nice people and just running and ruin your fun and stop you getting a damage badge. But if you're playing with friends, it's probably going to be a lot easier. So I know the circle's coming in, and I know we've got to move in, but I just want to maximize as much damage off them before getting into the circle as possible. You know, we're getting so close to that 4k, and this is why I said take that long range weapon, sit back a little, play a little more passively, because you want to hit your shots and just get as much damage as you can. If you take a G7, a longbow, charge rifle, sentinel, bow check, whatever you're more comfortable with, whatever you know you're going to hit your shots with, and really just try milk them for damage and try grind it out. Every time you see someone, shoot at them, and if you get them down, let the enemy team res. And I know it sounds like a stupid thing, but you don't actually need to win the game to get a damage badge. Like, you don't need the kill, you don't need to win the game. If you're just going for a damage badge, it's not important. And just sitting back and really grinding that damage. And here they rev pushed. I'm like, okay, this could be quite worrying. They've got a Revenant, but, you know, we send them back, and again, it's just an extra few damage just to add to that damage counter, and keeping an eye on your damage counter will really help you and really determine your playstyle. Obviously, the closer you're getting to the 4K, you might want to start playing a bit more aggressively towards the end, and this is exactly what happens. I get so close here, and I know the ring's coming in. I'm like, okay, we're going to have to move, and it's time. It's time. If I choke this, I choke it, and it might happen, and you might get super close to getting that 4K, and you might not get it, and it happens, and, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. So at this point, I'm like, okay, circle's closing in. We need to, I need to get some kills here. I need to really get some damage on them as much as I can. But I'm trying not to push too far in, knowing there's 3 of them. I don't want to get caught out, and I see Valkyrie's pop the ult, which I'm so grateful she did, because it tracks this guy for me, and it means I can get that 4K on him just by taking him out. I know he's a solo. I'm confident with my gun skills, and I managed to take him out, and of course it gives us that 4K. And even though I got the 4K, I still thirsted it. I still wanted to see how much damage we could get, and we landed with, I think, about 4,200 damage. But I know it might not be the ideal playstyle. I know it can be considered quite boring, but if you really want to get those high damage games, towards the end of the game, you really want to be farming that damage. Take that long range weapon, really farm it out of your enemies. Let them heal, let them res, and just go for as much damage as possible. Anyway, guys, I know this was a slightly different style of video to my usual stuff, but I do hope it helped, and I hope you can get those damage badges just like I did.